Alright, this is as good as you're gonna get it. Okay, great. So, I'm gonna look at this from black's perspective, but I do have a few comments for white. So, let's start with the first move, e4 d6. You played the Pierre's defense, right? Pierre's, I don't know. But the problem with this is that the way you played it is really weird. So after d4, normally people play something like this with a King's Indian sort of structure. And you see that the bishop develops on this diagonal. And at this point, we can probably develop the bishop on either this or even this diagonal after something like b6. Instead, what you did was you played c6, which is fine. After something like, let's say, knight c3, we can go for a typical modern position. It's actually kind of interesting. This is called I believe, the rat defense. But this is fine. What you did was a bit weird. After f4, you went for e6. And now my problem with this is that look at these pawns and look at your bishops. So your bishops really don't have an easy way to develop. And your knights just, your knights are okay, but there's just no easy way for you to develop. Compared to, let's look at white, right? White's pieces are just going to, the knights are going to come out behind the pawns. Bishop is going to come maybe here and here. And white just has a very easy position to develop. And then after you play knight d7, right? Like, this bishop is just dead. Because now you have to move the pawn, move the knight. And even then, there's just no targets on this diagonal. And let's say we play something like this, right? Look at how many moves it's going to take you. Let's say white just does nothing, right? And now your bishop wakes up. It took you, it's going to take like 3 moves at least to get this bishop out. And even then, white can just play this. And your bishop's just not getting out. Because this bishop here controls this square. So your bishop's just dead here and the bishop is stuck behind the pawn chain here. So essentially you have to choose between one of your bishops, and at this point both of them are dead. So this is a problem with the rest of your game. After d5, okay, you're kind of getting this bishop out, but look at this after e5. Your bishop can go to 2 squares, because every other square is controlled. And actually after bishop to b4, Vlad, this comment is for you. Please watch this video. Oh shit, I probably just flashed Discord, my bad. But, like, this comment is for you. Bishop d2 is not my favorite move. Because you're allowing black to trade off their, like, terrible bishop. I know that black has no development, but right now, black has no moves and no space. So when you have no space, you want to trade off pieces. So you're letting black trade off the piece. Even though, let's say, you go for something like c3 is much better. It's just much better. After c3, the bishop just has, I'm showing you the engine right now, but yeah, bishop to d2 is just comparatively worse, because after takes, say like knight takes, just look at the position. It's so much more comfortable to play for white because of all this center space. But you realize that black has 1 fewer piece, and that means black doesn't need to struggle to find space for that 1 piece. Black can maybe play something like this to target this weakness here, which is kind of a weakness. So instead of this, right, if let's say c3, let's say black wants to put the bishop on a different diagonal, so puts the bishop here. Hell, I think you can even play like b4. No, sorry, not b3. I think you can even play b4. And look at this. This bishop just has nowhere to go. It's stuck staring into this pawn. It's absolutely horrible. So lesson for both of you. This bishop is just absolute trash right now, you see? So in chess there are 2 ways to play, right? You have the typical way with the typical way with fighting for the center immediately on the first move. And you have this hyper modern type of playstyle where you develop your pieces first before you fight in the center. You see, that's the point of these hyper modern openings, right? You put all your pieces on like developed squares, let's say King's Indian defense. What's the move here? I believe it should be 3 castles. And knight f3, yes. Yeah, so king's Indian defense, right? Look at this. You see, you're developing all your pieces out, and then later you're gonna play something like this or this, or even like f5 in the future. But when you play like this, none of your pieces are developed. So you can't. All of your pieces are just on bad squares. So where are you going to develop to? And if you can't develop, then you can't break open the position because you're just not ready for it. Yeah? So this is just not the correct way to play these openings. But okay, fine. Bishop to d2, you could have just taken and gotten rid of this one bishop, right? I mean, if we look at this position here, you realize it's actually a similar position after something like knight here. But black has one extra piece and no good squares to put that piece. So black's life is just that much harder. So lesson for white, let's look at this from white's perspective for a second. Lesson for white, right? c3, b4, just lock this bishop. Recognize that you can just lock this bishop out of the game forever. Much better for you. Okay, great. Back to black. No, not b3. Okay, so c5, I mean, fair enough, I guess. You can take. I'm pretty sure this is just better for white because this is a very weak pawn. So lesson for both sides again. Dark Hyun, don't play c5, just take it off. Don't play c5 because you don't want this bishop. You really don't want this bishop. And for light, you just take and create weaknesses. You're 1900, man. I expect you to be able to do this. See? Queen d2 is the second engine move. Just target the pawn. Okay? Great. Instead, castles and now b6. Not bad. I guess you're trying to get the bishop out here, finally. And okay, now it's starting to look a bit more normal. So, yeah. And now, after a3, bishop takes, knight takes. c4. I did not love c4. Because the thing is, you've just traded off your dark square bishop, right? So, when you put your pieces on light squares, your bishop is now blocked, not by your enemy's pawns, mind you. It's blocked by your very own pawns. And not only is it blocked by its own pawns, you don't even have a dark square bishop to make use of all these squares. So, your position just does not make sense. Like, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't make sense. Because pawns on light squares, no dark square bishop, knight here, no way to bring the knight to f6. You're just really behind on time. I guess you can play like knight e7, knight g6. But yeah, with this f pawn coming, there's just nothing you can do. Okay, fine, c3. And now we get b5. Again, putting all your pawns on light squares. Now your light square bishop isn't even stuck behind enemy pawns, it's stuck behind your own pawns. It's even worse. Okay, but fair enough. b3, and now a6. B takes, I wasn't a fan of. Also, yeah, I wanted to raise this point. I was thinking at this point maybe you could just take. Right? Move your bishop. Move your bishop. Wait. Okay, move your bishop. Bring the rook here. And at least you have like this semi-open file that you can use to gain more space. Bring your knight here and here. Target this kind of weak pawn. Maybe jump your knight to f5 and castle. Right? That should be your thought process when you're in such a difficult position and you're trying to get out. Where can I put my pieces? I want to put my rook on a semi-open file. So in this case, you have to be aware. I want to create a semi-open file to put my rook on. Yeah? Okay, great. So c4, just closing everything up. Just c3, b5, b3, a6. We've talked about all this. And now b takes, c takes, and b takes. Sorry. What is knight g5? I mean, fair enough, I guess, but like honestly, okay, lag. I am a very big practitioner of f4 and f5 pusher, so you should listen to me. Number one, opening principles. Put your rooks on the goddamn open files, please. Like, this is just where your rooks belong, on open files. You have this big open file, whoever wins the race to control this file, that's just a principled move, right? So, again, I tell everyone to play principled chess, don't be like me. Okay, but fair enough. If you want to attack, knight g5 is not, I don't think is the best approach, because if you want to push f4, f5, right, you realize like f4 now just hangs in it. So another thing about like f positions where you move the f pawn, look at this, right? I want you to be aware of this. Look at this diagonal. It's completely open. Yes? So that's the thing about moving the f pawn. Not only do you create room for your castle rook to enter the game, you can actually play queen e1. Queen e1, right? And now you get your queen on this diagonal. Let's say black plays a nonsense move, right? You bring your queen in, and black just has no defense. Everything is coming. After that, you can just like I was saying this in chat as well. You can just like play some passive ass move, knight e1, or what you can do is put your knight here because now the queen defends it, right? And then just f4 f5. There's nothing black can do. Okay, so I will flip this to see from your side. So in such kind of f pawn positions where the f pawn has moved, right? Okay, again you can just play this. This is the most principled move out there. But if you want to attack, because you've played f4, you might as well attack, right? If you want to attack, how do I delete my arrows? Okay. After you move your f pawn, this is something I really want you to be aware of, because it's a very, very common idea whenever you move your f pawn. Queen e1, and then you get your queen on this open diagonal and attack the king. Okay, because your queen is your most powerful attacking piece, not defending, attacking. You don't want your queen just like sitting here, right, and not doing anything. So later you brought it over here to attack over here, but you want your queen to be the attacking piece, not the supporting piece. So queen e1, just bring your queen in. Black has no way to stop you. Okay, but okay, you played knight g5. I mean, okay, I guess you're going for this. So black responded with knight h6. I don't love this move from black, but I mean, like, at this point black's position is really, really bad, so there's really nothing else black can do. I mean, I guess you can play for f3, not sorry, f6, and like force things off for Dark Yun. Oops. Yeah, for Dark Yun you can try and play f3, look for pawn breaks. Oh, one last thing I want to talk about, right? Let's look at this from black's perspective, and we'll take a look at it from white's perspective as well. I want to talk to you about pawn chain directions. So I will look at this from white's perspective first, actually. Okay, so you see this pawn chain, right? Let's call this the head of the pawn chain. I'll highlight it in blue, yellow. Yes. So what I want you to look at is, where is this thing pointing, right? Away from, you want it to point away from you. So which side of the board is it pointing to? Realize it, assuming it's going away from you, it's pointing towards this side of the board. So if you're looking for pawn breaks, look for pawn breaks towards where your thing is going. So in this case, you want to get f5 because this is your thematic pawn break in these positions. Hell, I think you can even play f5 now. Let's just sack the pawn. But let's not talk about that. So in this case, your pawn chain is pointing here, and for Dark Yun, since you're playing hyper modern openings all the time, why do we say that black wants to get queenside counterplay to stop this king during this kingside attack? Because your pawn chain is pointing this way, so you want to attack down this side, you want to get pawn breaks on this side. Okay, just a quick chess concept for you guys. Great. Let's skip forward. Knight df. Yeah, again, queen e1, queen g3. Black is dead. But okay, fine, you don't know this, fair enough. Knight d to f3. Now even just like f6. I think f6 is playable. Okay, no, f6 hangs the pawn, I guess, so fair enough. Oh, my bad. But yeah, at some point I think you wanna maybe queen e7 f6 from black. It would make sense to try and like kick these knights out, take some of the pressure off. But yeah, it's really bad. Okay, so knight b6. I guess, yeah, black just has very few moves. And again, engine is saying play queen e1, play queen e1. Queen d2 is a thing, but thematic moves, I want you to think about themes, right? After you move your f pawn, queen e1, bring the queen. Okay? Whenever you move your f pawn, look for queen e1, bring your queen. So I personally learned this concept. I learned it myself. I came up with it. I learned it because in the Grand Prix attack, right? You see, after this f pawn, a common idea, let's say like, I don't know the lines actually, but let's just say something like this. I don't know the correct moves. What's the problem? I'm just gonna look at the engine real quick to tell me the proper move. Knight f6, okay, knight f6, yeah, and after bishop b5. Okay, just a quick line, right? This is the Grand Prix attack. e6. Yeah, actually a common idea here is to play queen e1, right? And you're gonna bring your queen this way to attack on the king side. Of course, you do it when they're castled, normally. But this is a common idea in the Grand Prix. And why is this possible? Because you move your f pawn. So same thing here, right? F pawn is moved, bring your queen. Don't do this weird stuff. Just bring your queen. Okay? Great. Lesson for both of you actually. Okay, let's talk a bit more. Alright, so yeah, just bring your queen, man. Bring your queen. But okay, fine. Queen here. It's not great because again you can just like defend the threat. But okay, white didn't see that. Black just didn't see it. So after knight takes, you can't get Bobby Fischer because the knight jumps out here. But yeah, f6 here was not a great move. So one thing you want to be mindful of. This is a very case by case kind of thing. So I don't blame you for not seeing this. But after f6, you just allow this queen to come in, right? And after this check, like knight comes back, and then just takes, or even like bring the other knight. I was thinking you could just sack the other knight, right? Because after f takes, death. If black tries to hold on, bishop h5, there's just nothing that black can do. Yeah? Okay, cool. So this would be crushing for white. So again, lag from your perspective. Yes. I know you did see this, right? Because the next move you played knight back, which was just a really strange move. I get the point is to bring your bishop this way, because you saw that after. I guess you saw that after knight here, knight blocks the check. I guess you saw that you had nothing, or you thought that you had nothing. But okay, so you played this to open up the bishop. Okay, I guess. So after the knight came back first again, after here everything just collapsed for black. But yeah, so that is what I had to say. I think that's it.